Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Hi, I am Sylvia Hayes, and you are watching Good News at Primetime. Tonight, we are going to be talking about Republicans and Democrats and what they stand for. Republicans and Democrats, what do they stand for? A lot of us say, I'm a Democrat, and then we have a lot of diehard Republicans. They're going to vote Republican regardless as to who the party is and what they stand for. They're just going to vote for them. Okay. So tonight we're going to explore exactly what do the Republicans stand for? What does the Democrats stand for? Because I've learned to not just vote for the party, but for the person and who they represent and what they stand for. Because that is more important than the party. So if you have a party that goes against everything you believe in, goes against what you your betterment for you, that's not the person you want to vote for. Okay, so we want to discuss that today. And also, we're going to talk about good news. My book, Good News at Primetime. One of these days, I'm going to get this right. Good News at Primetime. Not Good News at Primetime. My book, Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. You can get this book on Amazon, Lulu.com. Just Google the book and you can get it. It is a very powerful book. And the power thought from that book today is stand up for what you believe in, but make sure it is the right thing. Stand up for what you believe in, but make sure it's the right thing. So we're going to bring on my co-host, Mr. Reggie Drummer, to help us with this conversation. Hi, Reggie. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great there, Miss Sylvia. It's a powerful day for all of us. And anytime we get the opportunity to talk a little politics, that's just right down my alley. We definitely encourage everyone to like, share, subscribe over here at Square Mile Media as we continue to build our network over here. When you look at politics, it affects everybody. And right now, here in America, we've got two dominant parties. Over the years, you've had a lot of different parties. You had the Socialist Party, believe it or not, the Socialist Party and the Communist Party. You don't see the Whigs anymore. That was big in the 1800s. And then you have the Green Party. You also have the Tea Party. And so you had a lot of different parties, but the majority of Americans line up around those two parties, the
Mm-hmm.
Democrats and the Republicans. So those are the dominant parties that represent America. You also have a nationalist party. Believe it or not, there are people that vote uh, different things, but the numbers are very low. The numbers are very low over there. But the dominating parties over the last 100 years in America have been the Republican and the Democrat Party, and they changed over a period of time. They say it's just like if you had a quarter and you flipped
Mm-hmm.
it heads or tail, at the end of the day, it's still the same quarter.
Yeah,
Okay, but
that's true.
we it's a very interesting, and like you say, I think a lot of us lean towards being either. There's so many things that define the parties: uh, moderate, conservative, liberal, just different terminologies that dictate party behavior, and that can polarize people. It can unite people, or it can just have people like it's done over the last couple of years at odds with each other. Uh, you
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, and I think we also joined by Miss Nadine Ali. Hey, my sister, how you doing?
I'm feeling great this evening. Great to see you all.
Thank
Uh,
you.
is my sound okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
great. I just want to make sure that it's loud enough. Haven't been on and with you all in a minute, but I'm glad to be here, seeing your beautiful faces, and thank you so much, Mr. Drama, for inviting me to come and talk about one of the things I love to talk about, and
Yeah.
that
Give us
is
Oh,
just a
okay.
little bit more volume.
Oh, okay, okay. Let me see. That's why I was like pulling it up because I knew it was down. Is it okay now?
Yeah, that's better.
Great, great, great. I can hear you better too. Thank you so much. Again, hey, like you say, Mr. Drama, the peopleologist, this is what we
Ah,
love doing. And I might want to put a different background because it looked like I'm fading out, and I don't need to be doing that, right?
Right.
oh yeah, we need you to be
Hold on.
strong.
Show you
But
right. Show you right.
why while you make those adjustments, I wanted to share this with everybody. When we look at the two parties, the two dominating parties here in America, the Republicans and the Democrats. Matter of fact, when you look at elections, you'll see uh, red and blue. Uh, Blue is synonymous with the Democrat Party, and red is synonymous with the Republican Party. You also see the donkey and the elephant. Okay, the donkey represents the Democrats, and the elephants represent the Republicans. And when you look
Mm-hmm.
at their ideology, how they think, how they feel about certain things, the Democrats, these are traditional Democrats. They believe in strong government, strong government. They believe in liberal rights of the citizens, whereas that's how you get the word liberal in there. The Republicans believe in limited government, less government interference, and more conservative approach to citizens' rights. They believe that citizens should be disciplined, uh, law abiding, and those type things. On economics, the Democrats believe traditional Democrats tax the wealthiest people, tax the wealthiest people, have less taxes for the less wealthy people. The Republicans, traditional, they believe in rights to pursue prosperity, cut taxes for those main producers, capitalism, ownership, build prosperity through investments and things of that nature. When it comes down to health care, traditional Democrats believe federal assistance, whether it be Medicare, things like that, whereas Republicans believe in private competition in healthcare. Healthcare to the highest bidder or the best provider. Military wise, the Democrats believe in less military spending. Republicans traditionally believe in strong military spending, uh, protection of the country. When it comes down to gun control, Democrats traditional Democrats believe in uh, more restrictions. They still believe in the Second Amendment, but restrictions and monitoring of weapons, especially assault weapons. The Republicans tend to have that less monitoring and no restrictions. When it comes down to marriage, Republicans would believe in traditional marriages, ban on same sex, especially in the military. Democrats, same sex marriage equality. When it comes down to abortion, Democrats are pro choice, uh, the woman's right to choose. And on the Republican side, they believe in pro life. They believe there should be alternate things like adoption and things of that nature. It comes down to immigration. Traditional Democrats believe less restrictions, reform. Republicans tend to believe in national security, close the border, monitor, and no amnesty. When it comes down to the environment, Democrats tend to believe in climate control, air, water, land quality. Republicans believe less restrictions on businesses, that impedes the bottom line and makes it difficult for people to generate money. Even when it comes down to COVID, uh, most Democrats believe that it should be federal uh, restrictions and mandates, whereas Republicans believe that it should be based on the individual states and states' rights. When it comes down to civil rights, voting, uh, women's rights, LGBT, religious rights, criminal justice reform, uh, reducing gun violence. Most Democrats are strong on that, where our Republican counterparts believe uh, in it should be based on merits, no quotas, and certain restrictions and documentation and things of that nature. But those are two parties with some identifying qualifications to each party. And a lot of us have found ourselves to be not just conservative or liberal. You have conservative, liberal, you got progressive, you got moderate, you got independent. So those are other underlying issues that define how you look at a particular candidate. But just wanted to lay that out real quick, and uh, good to have you back in there, Miss Nadine. That looks good. You're not dropping out, but I know you represent. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background, what gives you, uh, what makes you shine when it comes down to this thing called voting and looking at both of those parties.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Drama, and definitely Miss Hayes. Hey, I've been involved with the political process since high school, and I'm sorry I'm freezing. I'm trying to uh, get on another platform as well, so uh, the internet seemed like it may not be steady from time to time. But I always have been interested in voting rights, your civil rights, your human rights. So that's just always been my pet peeve of sharing information with everyone that I come in contact with, um, learning as much information in reference to, um, hey, just being able to be a part of society. And when I was in high school or coming up, of course, you know that we had political science classes. We were taught to be an advocate in your community. Most people don't realize that, like you were stating earlier, Reginald, is that the persons that we elect in our districts, whether it's local, state, or federal, they're reachable. And we elect them for them to be able to help us in our communities where we live. And most of our Black people don't exercise that right. You know, they always are, they just going to get in and not do what they're supposed to do in office. Um, but again, I've just always been a part of that, coming up and keeping current with what's going on as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know when we talk about Republican versus the Democrat, it's like one side is the good side and the other side is the bad side. And I look at it like at one time, people were more favorable for the Republicans, because Abraham Lincoln was Republican, so they say Republican was a good one, but then now it's done flipped. The Republicans now are the bad people. And it's like whatever they don't want right now, I see they don't want to agree with anything that the Democrats do. If even if a Republican come up with a bill and everybody agree to it, but once that Democrats say, okay, yeah, we're gonna agree with that, all of a sudden Republicans say, no, we don't like that. They just have to be opposite, and that doesn't make sense to me. Why
Right.
would we come together for the good of the people? And it's all about hardiness. To me, it's like divisive. We're not going to agree with the other party. You're supposed to come together for the good of the people, not for your
Exactly.
own individual, satisfaction. So, that's why I say vote for the person, not for the party. Vote for the person who's going to look out for your interests. Because if you, okay, I'm bypassed the baby stage, right? But I have children, grandchildren, cousins, nieces, and nephews. All of those are coming up, or some of them are up, and they may be trying to have babies. And with the laws they have right now, Republicans want to kill off everything, put them in jail. So I don't agree with that. I have to vote for my future, vote for the offsprings, and not just for me and what's happening for me now, Because right now, if my grandchild, even though she's not old enough yet, but when she get old enough to have a baby, if that baby die inside of her, they telling her that she can't have an abortion. So that baby gonna have to rot inside of her body, or they have to
Mhm.
induce labor, you know, which to me is just about like an abortion. To induce labor, make her go through all of that pain and suffering just to have that baby. That's wrong. That is totally wrong. The baby is inside the womb, don't have a head. They saying that they can't uh, abort that baby. That is wrong to make that mother suffer like that. So, and it's mostly Republicans that's doing that. Want you to have more babies. That's the thing. I wish men could have babies, and I wish all of those men who voted for it could have the babies. And I wish they be the one who would
Hey,
take care of those babies.
if if men had to do what you women do, a lot of the laws would be changed, especially the gray hair white men. But when you come down to and just looking at abortion, we there. I think sometimes they cloud the issues. Like I said earlier, the Democrats are what they call pro-choice,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Republicans tend to be pro-life. But they do condone abortions under saving the woman's life, rape, and incest. And I think sometimes that gets clouded and not brought out, because it's like, hey, everybody's gonna get an abortion. You can't. We're just gonna stop it all. So sometimes we got to dig a little deeper and swim beyond the clouds, because it's so cloudy now. That's what creates the division. Somebody saying Democrats want to kill all the babies. Then the Republicans say the Democrats, uh, they just keep throwing mud on each other rather than get into what's really on the plate. What really
Yeah,
is on the plate is what's important.
yeah. Now I did hear an incident where this woman baby died inside of her and she couldn't get it aborted, and she had to go through uh, induced labor to have that baby. I did hear about that. So
Okay.
I'm going, why they gonna make that woman suffer like that?
That is not good.
Nope.
And it's sad, to see that. Um, and just like you were saying, in reference to, the Republicans, they're very conservative. And right now, that's their agenda, always have been, being very conservative in what they do and streamline because they're always looking at wanting to save funding, money, and to me, that funding and money go to those that are rich, that's getting richer, you know,
Yeah.
and those that are Republicans that are not as wealthy, they don't even realize that they may be suffering. But
Oh,
it's the yeah, it's the difference, like you were saying, with Democrats and Republicans. Democrats believe in the democracy, believe in trust and love and all, and let's just go down the road together and not having to worry about, um, you know, just all this divisiveness, like we was talking about earlier. Whereas Republicans, hey, it's my way or the highway, and of course they, go to the extreme measures of whatever their belief is, like you mentioned, Reginald, in the beginning. Hey, they carry it out. Look at the insurrection. That was to make a real statement, not only to USA but to the world. And like you were saying, Sylvia, with this point blank of, hey, let's make rules. You can't have abortions other than incest or rape. Um, they just, to me, in this climate right now, just trying to put stuff on the books. And what I mean by on the books, making laws to, just like it always have been throughout history, slap it on now. So, they'll forget about it once it goes on. But long as it's on the books, long as it's a law, it can be, brought back up that somebody gonna go back and look in the book. That's how a lot of this stuff has been happening, because it happened uh, earlier years. And I'm sorry about I think it's my internet. It's not stable, and I apologize for that. But just in history, period, like you're saying, the way they doing things, just throwing things out, even getting to the avenue of the redistricting. Oh, of
Mm.
course, it always have been whatever party is the leading party, especially for instance, like here in Georgia, is the Republicans. So they're gonna try and draw the lines to their favor, and no matter how the lines look. Of course, if someone comes back in and be the governor of as a Democrat, they're gonna want to draw the lines back where, they always try and look to be good for all, do good for all, try to take that, you know, uh, way of handling things, democracy, diplomatic way. I'd say it like that.
Mm.
And like you were saying, point blank, Sylvia, you're right. A lot of things are just, so into our eyes. It's like, and a lot of people left, what is going on? Why do you have to be like that? So
All right. Well,
a lot of
uh,
injustice going on right now as well.
Yeah.
well, when you look at uh, and my first time voting was in 1980.
Mhm.
In 1980, I was in the military, so that was my first time. And I look at the presidential election. I actually voted for Ronald Reagan. Okay,
Mhm.
now my reason for voting for Ronald Reagan, because in the military, everybody was like, yeah, this was the thought pattern. Man, we was getting all kind of good stuff under Reagan. They was cutting programs, all this type stuff. So my interest, even as a 19 or 20-year old, was pushed into the direction of voting for a president that was gonna make sure the military was rolling. Okay. Now, back then, it wasn't like today. Okay, today it's a harsh line. It's so much cloudedness in there where uh people are, there's so many chopping points. People actually uh now Reagan did point at Jimmy Carter as being weak, things like that, but it wasn't like today's politicians. Today's politicians, they either label you, they take the words like liberal and make it sound like a four-letter word. They take the word when you talk about police reform or gun control, they make you seem like you anti-American. And all of that has come about in the last 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
The Republic, oh, the Republican Party has really taken a drastic change ever since the what they call it, I forgot what is that, Sarah Palin. Remember that party?
Oh yes.
The Tea Party. When the Tea Party came on board, they shifted the whole mindset of the Republicans. I think the last, what you could call a great Republican, would be uh what's the guy, that soldier that died? He ran for president.
Oh,
Uh John McCain.
yes.
Oh, okay.
That's who
Yeah,
they
he was
consider.
he was a hard conservative, but he wasn't like Trump and them. You know what I'm saying?
Not at
Right.
You
all.
know, yeah. So we had conservative Republicans that could at least reach. They did, all of them did some things, but they could at least reach across the aisle and make some things happen. Uh, I think uh, Ronald Reagan would turn his nose up at the current Republican Party. So when I talk to a lot of, especially black people that are Republicans, that's the conversation I have. I said, well, now look what's happened. you know, it's probably started progressively with the Bushes,
Mhm.
because I didn't vote for neither one of the Bushes, because it got bad after that. When we came through the Clinton years, it was hard for me to look at the Republican Party as being a party that was for the people, because when you look at, when it came to jobs, the unions and things like that, uh, the whole climate's changed and shifted.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, uh, there's a question out there. Do you believe Democrats are serving the interests of black people? And they say, do you remember the Clinton crime bill?
Oh, yes, we
So,
do remember
so
Yeah,
do
that.
I
you?
remember that one. Three strikes, you're out.
Yeah. And Uncle Joe was part of that. Joe Biden.
Hmm.
Oh, yes.
So see the like we, especially black and brown people. Do you see the party? Democrat Party as being the party of choice for black folk. I mean, what are they doing for black people?
Yeah. But see, the thing is, I kind of want to question a little bit. When you know better, you do better. And back in those days, they thought they were doing the right things. But as time go by, I feel that the Democrats and Joe and Bill has grown, and they know, the mistake that they made. Now they do. But I
Right.
think when you know better, you do better. That's my take on that. Even though they say Bill was he put people in jail and stuff like that, he thought he was doing the right thing. He didn't know the impact
At the
of the
time.
people that it was gonna take on. So I feel that you do what you know to do. At that time, because look, the things I did when I was 30, I thought I knew what was right. But when I get older, I look back, I'm going, that was stupid. You know, so I know better now, but then at the time I didn't know better. So I feel like even though they did those things, I think they're trying to make up for it, and their actions going forward is different from what they did in the past. That's the
Right.
way I look at it. Uh, as far as Democrats doing something for black people, I don't think they're trying to put guns in their hands so that everybody can get killed. I don't think that's happening. I think they more conscious on the abortion thing. Let the woman make that choice rather than a man make the choice for the woman. I think they're doing something for humankind and black people because black people are involved in that too. Yeah,
Mm.
that's my take
Right.
on it.
Well, I can say that, like you're saying, Sylvia, you're doing um, what you think is the best vote that you take when you're in office at the time. And of course, you know, um, I believe in people really doing based on their decision. But a lot of times you have to keep in mind they have to call in on favors, in the
Mhm.
Right.
political process. So and we are not sitting specifically in their seat, so we don't know how they're having to fight to be able to make a decision and look at the overall uh, aspect of everything. Right now, like you're saying, hey, putting guns in the hands of everybody, you can look at it where, people, being able to protect themselves. But on the other end, everybody having guns, you know, we, as blacks would think of, oh Lord, giving the people the liberty to do what they've done, back in history. And then we still see the violence today as the police officers taking upon themselves to do whatever, and also citizens too. But in reference to the Republicans versus Democrats, like you said, Reginald, that hit home to me is that everything's just thrown out to the streets. Hey, however you have it, and it seemed like they don't even have a agenda for themselves. It's all
Mm.
about, um, seem like a lot of focus is on getting number 45 back in office and doing what he had started them to do. And again, I don't even see, I don't really see what agenda do they have really. They in most parties, if both of them are really not doing agendas, you just have people on commercials indicating, you know, what they've done, but you don't never see what you don't see the commercial of the actual person who's running for office standing up
Mm.
saying what they doing. They having everybody else. That's all I've been seeing,
Right.
and we we haven't been getting a lot of, I would say, powerful information from the persons that are running for office to give us a direction or see the
Right.
direction they want us to go. So
Right.
right now, you know, um, with the both parties, they need to step up because
Yeah,
it's almost getting to that point of wild, wild west.
Right.
yeah,
Well,
you're
it.
right. And I don't see why when you said they're trying to get 45 back in office, it's like these people are still glued to that man. He's out of office, don't have any
Mhm.
power, but yet still they're trying to do everything they can to support him and make him look good. It doesn't make any
Mhm.
sense to me. I mean, just look at the raid, for instance. Now
Hmm.
Trump took those files out of the White House. He knew he wasn't supposed to. And he took them down there. He should have took them back. They asked him to bring
Right.
those files back.
Right.
He did not.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mm-mm.
because I guess he feel like it's his personal property. When he did
Hmm.
not do what they asked him, the FBI went down there and took those papers. Now he and all of his followers saying that the FBI was wrong. Trump is
Right.
Well,
acting just like a spoiled brat.
well, of course they're gonna look at it like that, and that's
Yeah.
out in the forefront of everything, and not really get into the real issues of what's needed. And again, I know
Right.
our topic is, the difference of Republicans and Democrats. I don't see a platform. We need to see the platform in order to
Right.
really vote for them. And I know their values are definitely different. And for some odd reason, I've always looked at in the way the Republicans present themselves as if they got to come out with a fight, angry.
Mm-hmm.
You can't show face of being able to listen to one another. Is either, like I said, my way or the highway. And can you imagine how they're
Oh,
doing among themselves?
yeah. Well, you know, uh, one of the things that I don't see happening now. Like I said, when I was first introduced into the voting process,
Hmm.
even in the military, Jimmy Carter was a Navy officer, but they didn't make him look bad. They didn't say negative things about him. They just said it was going to be weak on the military. We wouldn't be getting the things that we could get under Reagan. I mean, now these was clear things that they put out. I think
Right.
what's happening today, and this was making a lot of people not interested in either of the parties. When the parties are going back and forth like kids, and
Hmm.
you ask people that are on the Republican side, and anytime you ask them, they're not talking about current issues. They're talking about Hillary's emails. They're talking about Joe Biden's son, and they're talking about Barack Obama. They're not talking about what can be done today to help America, the average American. When you look at it, the average American is having problems, especially since COVID. The average American is making less money. The average American is under more stress. He's and the rich are still
Hmm.
getting more. So
Hmm.
it would, now this is my view on the Democrat Party, being that the Democrats are, you got pro labor, human rights, and all those things. But instead of spending a lot of time chasing what the Republican Party has created as issues for them to focus on, they should be focusing on the things that are going to help the American people. And even from the presidential, I know that hadn't come out yet, but even when it comes down to the November election, nobody's talking about the things that are pertinent to the people here in the state of Georgia. They're talking about everything else, but what can help us? Things like, you know, making sure. I think in Georgia, they just uh, by redrawing the state lines and different redistricts, put people in a bad position. I got a question. We put too much focus on federal elections and not state and local elections. If
Right.
Abram wins and Georgia legislator is majority Republican, her power will be limited. Uh, so I guess the question, again, going back to especially local elections, a lot of local elections are going to be coming up what they call a midterm. And those are definitive elections because they can determine whoever gets to be the next president, how much power they have across the nation, whether it be Congress, the Senate, and even when it comes down to states' rights. All these governors up for election, uh, all these state, local, and the state people up for election. And if the people don't have an interest, neither one of the parties is convincing people to stay and focus on things that affect them. A lot of young people are not voting. You know, unlike the last time when Georgia went blue under Stacey, a lot of young people just don't see a reason to vote. So
Yeah.
neither party is attracting that audience of people, and a lot of uh, middle-aged people are not seeing any progress, especially when it comes down to Social Security, Medicare, all those things. People are finding that neither one of the parties are living up to their expectations.
True. And that's what a lot of people see, but people looking at that, but they're not looking at what they can do for themselves. And that's to
Mm.
educate themselves. You have to always look at the other side, and that's the way my mind always go. Is that they say what they ain't doing for them, but what can you do for yourself? And of
Ooh.
course, ever since 2016, 45 was, in office, he set the pace of people being dismantled within their own minds. No hope. Okay. And definitely this state's governor, I must say, he's never really embraced, health care or anything else that's been passed down uh, to Georgia from federal aspect of helping the people. And of course, we've seen point blank with him. It's not been about helping the people; it's helping himself. And again, just piggybacking on what you mentioned, Reginald, that's what I see. Started in 2016, dismantling everything and having people just not even thinking about politics and but they have to start looking at what can you do for yourself and educating yourself and staying current. Don't always say what ain't nobody else doing for me. You got to look at what can I start to help out, because if not, everybody don't want to work these days, and plenty of jobs are out there. Don't want to do anything. You can't give up, you know, just because a plague came around. It's going to always be something. You can't really just concentrate, on all those things. You got to look beyond and continue to want to live and do a difference and make a difference.
Mm. You
Yeah.
said a powerful thing. Uh, you know, uh, the average American, because of all the stuff that's going on, they don't want to work, they don't want to vote, they almost don't want to participate in this country. Uh,
Exactly.
and this is the first time, we've had, even when it comes down to war, when it comes all the things that America holds true to, younger people are saying we don't want to be a part of this.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But you're right as far as them taking care of themselves. Cause I've seen a lot of places they have to close shop or shut their business that closed out later, close sooner, earlier because they don't
Right.
have the employees. And I'm telling people, y'all go work. And people want to just stay home and collect those checks. That's not good exercise for your brains or your body. Just stay home in
Yeah.
front of the TV, or the
Exactly.
internet. That's not good at
Well,
all. So,
well,
and that was only temporary. What about 20 years from now when you're trying to get Social Security? You didn't have enough money to put in to take care of your welfare, you know? People gotta think about that too, because
Oh
you're not
well.
yes.
just working now for now, you're working for the future.
Mm.
Because a lot of people who don't want to work now, when they get old enough to draw Social Security, and they're gonna say you don't have enough money to do this, or you only get this small amount, and they're gonna be wondering why.
Right.
That's because you didn't work,
Yeah.
and they
Well,
just want these
So true.
handouts. And those handouts
yeah.
is only temporary and it's not going to benefit you in the long run. I mean, it
You
helped
sound
right
like a
now,
conservative.
huh?
You sound like a conservative. You said don't give them no handouts.
Well, it's not
That's a
not
that's a
because give
conservative
a handout.
philosophy. You don't work,
It's
you
not
don't eat.
don't give a handout. It's you got to help them, okay? You got to help people, but you can't make them a crutch. You don't
Right.
want them to depend on it. Yes, help me out while I need it, but don't continue to crutch me. Because me, I'm not one who want to be crutched anyway. Yeah, help me while I need it, but I'm gonna flourish during the pandemic. Look, I got my book published. You know, I was doing something, working on my business and getting everything going for my business. It allowed me time to work on my business. Okay,
Hey,
Hmm.
being that I couldn't go to work, so people should
well, you
take
know what,
advantage of that,
Sylvia,
Hmm.
huh? What you say,
you know what?
Reggie?
If you what you just said, believe it or not, you just identified yourself as closely aligning to the Republican philosophy.
Really?
The conservatism. Yes, conservatism is based on you work hard and you can come up and do whatever, invest in yourself, be disciplined, less government interference. You know, uh, and they believe that those uh, particular philosophies can even the tide for all Americans. Where on the Democrat side, they see the traditional Democrats, they see the 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 uh, the missing blocks that have kept people behind. That's why you have voting rights, affirmative action. That's why they make sure uh, you know things stay or improve for the betterment of all people. Traditional Republicans tend to want to keep it in the family. Okay. Now, if you manage to get in the family through what they call hard work or pulling up by the bootstrap, you know, but again, both parties are going to have to do something to involve the next generation of people. Uh, you know, people in my age group, we gonna vote, and some of us not. But the majority of the people that in my age group, 60 plusers, 30 to 40% of them will come out and vote. Okay. Now, younger
Yeah.
people, believe it or not, from 45 on back, 45 down to the age of voting, 18 years old. There's nobody that's saying anything that kind of moves or motivates them to want to vote. Like I said, when I voted for the first time in the military, at least there were people putting out things that moved and motivated me to want to vote for a particular candidate, not saying that that candidate was non-patriotic, a terrorist, name calling, none of that type stuff. It was based on what I thought was going to be best for my interest. That particular time, it was the military, and believe it or not, I'm glad I did vote for Reagan because we got all kind of extra money. Now, the candidates after that, and when we move into, I think at least when Obama ran for president, he did run on change. See, he had a platform, you know, uh, and that moved and motivated younger people to want to vote. You know, today we don't have, especially on the presidential level, we don't have it. And then when you start looking on the our local level, look at not putting them down, but look at our Senate race between Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. You know, young people are like, okay, who is this guy? He don't even live in Georgia. He's running. So younger people, you know, nobody's moving, motivating the next generation of people to want to vote, to want to participate. And that's the only bad thing about both of these parties. These are the two strongest parties in America. 80% of the people that vote in America vote for these two parties. Okay? You got the Green Party, you got the Libertarian Party, you got the Socialist Party, you got the Tea Party. They only get about 3% of the total votes. The rest of it is between these two parties. So these two parties have to do something. I had another question. Conservative values are not reserved for Republicans. That's true. Our parents taught us to do for self. Garvey said, up your mighty race. And when has America ever given us our work? Shout out, my brother. And also, don't forget to sign that petition to pardon Marcus Garvey. His birthday was last week, I think. But that was a good point there. You know, especially as Black people, we got to do for self. And participating in this system is good if we can get it to do something that helps us. You know what I'm saying? We say we should either buy, lease, own, or rent a politician. You know, as a people, we should either buy, lease, rent, or own a politician. That's at the local level, the state level, and even when we get to the national level.
Yeah, you're right. But as far as when you said the older people are voting, that's because we still have in our mind what our ancestors had to go through for us to vote. And we still remember that, knowing that we can't let our ancestors down. We have to get out and vote. But people don't realize how important voting is, even the local level. And a lot of times when people complain about things, if you didn't vote for a person to represent you, then you have no voice. A lot of people think about the president, you know, the vice president and the Senate and stuff like that. But what about these local people? You got to vote for them. Vote for our governor. Shoot. I try my best not to get Kemp in, because when he had that gun up there pointed at this child, trying to scare him away from his daughter, that was enough for me. It's like, no way. I am not going to put a gun-toting governor in office. And I tried my best. I campaigned and did everything to keep him from getting in office. But the man cheated. That's how he got in office. He stole the election. And we got to make sure that don't happen again. We got to make sure that don't happen again. Kemp is putting guns in people's hands and everybody's getting shot up. You know, and that is not right. He's taking women's rights from them to having abortions. That is not right. He is Medicaid. Well, he refused for this Medicaid expansion. That is not right. There's money that was given to the state to give out, and they holding on to it and giving it back, to sending it back to wherever it came from. You know, they're not looking out for us. You know, and we got to put people in office who will represent us and just take care of us. And you got to put
when you brought up
people in office.
When you brought up those three things, Medicare, it should be two groups of people should automatically vote against some of the people that's in office now. Poor white folk and Black and brown people. Okay, when you look at whether it be different things like the health care, there are people suffering all over Georgia. They suffering. They don't have no way to pay for health insurance, and all of them ain't Black, and all of them ain't brown. But because they've been polarized under one thing, whether it be gun control, police reform, or abortion. Now, what's going to put food in you and your folks' mouth? Abortion, gun control, No, these things that the governor has put in place to impede the forward movement of most Georgians, and all of that's being looked over. So whoever, and even in the Georgia election, I know she hadn't started running hard yet. I hadn't seen, I would love to see from the Democrat side, Stacey Abrams to come in as strong, talking about those issues. Because when you talk about those issues, you talk about what's hurting Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And there's young people and old people.
Yeah.
You're
And,
right.
and, and that Medicare thing, a lot of people, they can't afford medical
Oh,
insurance.
nope.
And they need it. And like the old people, a lot of them, they didn't work that much to draw a lot of Social Security. And then that little test of Medicaid
Yeah.
that they get, it don't take care of everything and it put them in the hole. So they need that extra. And there are
Oh,
people who have a whole bunch of kids, and the governor wants them to have more. They
well,
can't afford a whole lot of insurance,
yeah.
so
And
they
Great
we
need
point.
had
that.
we had a comment out there, and I know you sent this to us, Miss Nadine. The governor only signs the bill. It's the Georgia House and Senate that passes the bill. We have to flip the Georgia legislature from red to blue in order to get these bills done. And I know you had sent us something, you emailed us how a bill is actually passed.
Right, right. I didn't send this, but that's a good point of letting people know how bills you know, they are signed by the governor. And I did send just some information and talking about the upcoming election dates and like you mentioned, Reginald midterm, of course, on November 8th. An early election starts 3 weeks before that. And just a quick reminder to everyone, if you need to change of address or just register to vote, make sure you get it in before or by October the 11th. So you'll probably hear, some is just teetering over. Um, and of course, everything's probably going to be showing up, beefing up. I've never seen a whole summer where they had ads running, and it's all about what they don't do, and I can't believe, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just gonna leave this because I know we're growing near time. Hey, people out there, you vote your own conscience, and uh, hey, don't soak in a lot of that rhetoric that's going on out there.
Ooh,
Exactly.
Just do like they say, your own homework. And again, thank you for
Yeah,
having me on the show.
yeah.
well, thank
You're
you.
welcome. And I do encourage, because I am hearing stuff out there. It's like, that's not true. People, they just putting stuff out there just to change your mind and make you vote for them. And you do have to do your own homework. That is so important. And do vote.
Yeah,
You got to vote. Otherwise, this state going to be in a shamble. It's going to be in a
Ooh,
shambles. Things going to be happening. Like you said, the laws and stuff are made by people, by the senators and stuff. You got to get out there and vote. Put people in office who will represent you. That is so important. Put them
so
in there who will
true.
represent, and don't be afraid to call them up.
That's
Reach
right.
out
mm-hmm.
to them when you have a problem or you see that they're doing something wrong. Reach out to them. They actually will listen to you sometime. You know, but you got to make yourself known.
Exactly.
You got to.
And
Well,
make
again, everybody have to check their voting status. I think you can go to the Secretary of State website, check your voting status, make sure you registered, make sure that your address is correct and all that type stuff. There, all those things. If you go over, we'll probably post it over there on the
Mhm.
Facebook page too. Good News at Primetime. uh the different dates that you got to pay attention to. You got to pay attention to
Right.
the date. Make sure you registered by October 11th. Uh, Nobody's going to be proactive. I mean, you know, some parties are more proactive in making sure you get all the hand holding. But one of the ways to suppressing people's vote is just to sit back and let them do what they do. And then when you
Right.
get ready to vote in November, you find out you're being turned away from the polls and things of that nature. So we have to be proactive. We have to talk about the issues at hand. You have to encourage young people, the issues that are in the interest of young people. Young people want to get paid more per hour. Well, you got to make sure that you put somebody in office that's going to say support that. Young people, we talk, different things that we need. Older people that look at Medicare and all that stuff being denied because of the legislators that's not voting in your favor. What we say,
Right.
buy, lease, rent, or own a politician. If they don't support your best interest, they got to go. And I know a lot of people, young black people, especially young ones, their biggest thing is reparations. Now, that's
Mhm.
another issue. Now, older black Americans don't think about reparations, but a lot of young people think about reparations. So politicians are
Oh,
going to have to bring that up and discuss that
right.
and talk that to young people.
You said buy, rent, or be the
Oh,
politician, huh? That
yeah,
means
buy,
staying in their
rent.
face.
Oh, yes,
Staying
yes,
in their
stay in their
face.
grill. Yes,
Staying in their
stay in their
face.
face.
And
Yeah.
one important message before I know we're definitely getting close. This is this. You all make sure when your ballot is cast, it's cast. Because what happened in primary in May, in reference to a lot of ballots not being cast, it was a glitch from Secretary of State. So just to stay mindful. That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother day when it comes closer to the election day.
Okay. So it is important that we register to vote and we get out and vote. That is so important. And don't say that my vote don't count because people have won by 1 or 2 votes. So your
Right.
vote do count. Okay, that is so
If
important.
it didn't count,
Mhm.
they wouldn't try to suppress it.
Exactly.
That's to show you right.
Yeah.
Mm.
And,
Show
and
you
when,
right.
when and when it's time to vote, you make sure that you are in the right spot before you get there, because a lot of
Right.
times they change the poll. Sometimes they even take you off the register. So make sure you are on the register to vote. And don't just vote party. I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. Because right now, Republicans, anybody who say they're Republican, I think is something wrong. I mean, you can say you're a Republican, but don't go Republic, just gonna vote for those people, because those people are not out for you. They A lot of times they want to save money and stuff, but yet still they're giving themselves a raise. They can make all the money, but they don't want you to have any. And they're causing chaos in the community. You don't want chaos, you want peace. Okay? So vote for people who will represent you, who represent peace, who brings peace into the community. And it's just so important to be knowledgeable. Okay? We got election coming up in November. Yes, we got to vote for a new governor. Vote for a new governor, because this one ain't hit on jack. Okay? So until then, we're going to say, be sure you pick up my book, Power Thoughts, Empowering You to Be Successful in Life. You can pick it up on Amazon, Lulu.com. Just Google the book, Power Thoughts by Sylvia Hayes. Get that book. And again, stand up for what you believe in, but make sure it is the right thing. Make sure it is the right thing. You don't vote for a Republican just because they are Republican, because those people right now are corrupt. They are corrupt, and you don't want to stand by somebody who will embarrass you. Because right now, I can see embarrassment all over the place when you have all those Republicans standing up for stuff that's wrong, and they know it's wrong, and they doing it just because they are Republicans. No, you don't stand up for wrongness. No, 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 no. You got to stand up for the right thing. Get out there and vote. Vote for the right person. Vote for the right issues, not just for the party. And so until then, we're going to say, see you later. This is Sylvia Hayes with Good News at Prime Time. My co-host, Reginal, and my guest, Nadine Ali. So until next week, we'll see you again. Have a good one.